Okay, I'm back in my classroom, and last night, not sure when it will be when I post this, but last night I played in the final of the Worcester Chess Championship, and we drew. So in a fortnight's time, we're going to have to play again. I'm going to go through the game. Be aware this is very niche watching. I'm mostly making this for my own enjoyment, but I'll talk through the game. I played black, and I was playing someone called Nick Harris, and he was graded significantly above me. And right, he started off with the English opening, and it is an opening I play myself. The idea is we don't occupy the centre, but we're going to be attacking into the centre. And the English is known for very long lines where both people are playing the same thing. So it looks a bit like when you play at primary school, where both people play the same things coming out. And for the first 4 moves, I did exactly the same thing as Nick. And it is in legitimate theory. I've got my symmetrical English book here with me at work, and it's legitimately the main line. After this, it deviates a bit, and he plays this, looking to grab some space on this side with things like this. I played an inaccuracy here, and I played this forward. The idea is this pawn is guarding this space in case he comes forward. Now, the reason this isn't needed is if I just continue developing normally with something like this, then if he comes forward, if I take with the knight, which looks like a blunder at first, if he takes back, then I can take here, and he can't actually move the knight because the bishop is attacking the rook. So I didn't need to weaken myself by playing this a5 move. So we just take it back. So this was the position. I didn't need to do this, and this is considered a bit of an inaccuracy. It weakens a lot of this side, and it means I'll never be able to castle over here, which ended up possibly being a problem. But he doesn't actually develop on this side anymore. This kind of stops him in his tracks, and he just develops normally in the centre. This lets the bishop come out. I carry on with this. With English, people have their favourite setups for it, and I'm playing something called the Staunton setup, where everything I'm trying to do is trying to push this pawn forward. So I've got this guarding the space. I'm going to get my knight over here guarding the space as well, and do everything ready for the push. Meanwhile, there's various things White can do, but like one of the common things is this kind of formation called the Mackenzie bind, which is quite hard to. It just ties up the board. That's the idea. But he didn't end up doing that. So I played pawn to e6. He plays a slightly hesitant move. We're both trying to feel each other out, making non-committal moves, but just generally developing around the edges. So that's fine, and it's got potential for the queen-bishop things going on here to try and attack my flanked bishop. It's called a Fuhnschatter. So that's the queen move. So that's the bishop out, which is fine where I am. I'm following the game on this piece of paper here, which you write down your moves as you're going. I develop my knight out here, ready to do the d5 plan, and he just develops normally. So the knight's here, and crucially it's stopping the bishop guarding the d5 space, so now I've got enough that I can push this forward. But I don't have to do it immediately, so he plays that knight out. I do it immediately. The other thing I was thinking of is maybe castling, and I put this through a computer, and the computer seems to agree that castling was slightly better. But I went for this. Strong push into the centre, and it's the first time that any of us has been into the central 4 squares. That's very typical in the English. It's not typical of any other opening. He plays this, not worrying about this. I can either push or I can take, and that's fine. He's fine with me doing that. What he's doing here is he's threatening this here, because I'm not going to be able to castle queenside with my king, because all my pawns are messed up. I'm going to have to go into this formation over here. So if he can swap off this bishop with this bishop, then suddenly, if my king's here, it's going to have no defence. That's his plan. I thought about this for quite a long time. So the whole game, we had an hour and a half each. And by the end of the game, I had 40 minutes left and he had 15 minutes left. So it was a long game. It was about 2 hours long. I ended up playing this move here, right here. It guards this space. Now, there's a couple of things to worry about when you're doing this. Firstly, can that pawn push me away straight away? And I worked out that it couldn't. can't remember my exact line on that one, but I had something lined up for it. And also, it's just quite committal for a white. To do that, he has to commit to not castling this side. The other thing I was thinking is, can you push me like that? But again, the answer is no, he can't. I had swapping off and then hopping into the centre here and getting a knight which isn't going to be able to be kicked away, which it was just strong enough to justify it. So that was looking solid at both developing the knight and guarding this space. So that's knight f5. He plays this. Now again, I play a move which the computer doesn't agree with. The computer said just chuck away the bishop, but I didn't want to leave myself I didn't want these pawns to advance too much in front of my king. So instead, I just moved my queen out of the way. Okay, I'm just going to check the recording. Yeah, that's all fine. So that's the queen forward. Now at this point, the computer says, ooh, take advantage of that. This pawn is really weak, and I'd have to move my queen again to guard it. So the computer likes that move for white, nabbling up this pawn. But instead, white played castle, and similarly, I play castle. And we're just playing quite defensively here. Neither of us wants to be the first one to commit ourselves to the attack. He pulls over a rook, so when all these pawns come off, we're both hoping to get big horizontal, vertical attackers going down the middle, and he's already lined that up, ready. Similarly, I need to get this moved as well, because as soon as my rook goes over here, then when his bishop comes over here, it doesn't matter, I can just evacuate my bishop. So that's somewhere in the work line. I'm kind of thinking that needs to happen at some point. But his rook move there lets me play this, and this is actually quite powerful. So this knight is threatening a few things. Firstly, it's threatening here, which would be a queen rook fork. It's also threatening here if the knight comes off for a queen king fork. And this is the clever thing, it can't just be chucked away. Like, even if he manages to guard this space first, if he ever does this, then I can push this, and the bishop has nowhere to go, because if it goes back there, I push this pawn to attack it. If it goes back here, I push this pawn to attack it. The bishop isn't going to have any escape squares, so he knows that he can't push this one. So my my knight is a kind of outpost on the board. It's controlling the centre, which is where you want your knights to be. Controlling the centre and unpushable. He basically has to swap off at this point. And again, I play a move that the computer didn't like. So the options were probably knight takes, bishop takes, or pawn takes. I opted for pawn takes. I like the idea of this big central attacker and chucking this away. It's going to have to move now. It moves forward, and there aren't many spaces it can go forwards here from. You just have to consider what it's attacking. So it is attacking this. At some point, all of these things are going to come down. But what I'm worried about is when all these pawns go, this bishop's attack here is going to be on this thing. Also, this bishop here of mine is really weak. It's left behind. So at some point, I need to push this and get my bishop out, hopefully to swap off with this one. That's the kind of long-term plan with it. So to do that, I need to push this forward, and to do that, I need my rook not to be on the same diagonal as it when these come off. So I preempt that. So it looks a bit funny, but there are reasons behind it. He plays a4, just shoring up the knight, because he couldn't take this originally, because then I would just nab his knight. But this pawn now means this knight is protected even then. Hello.
How'd you get last night?
It was okay. I'll just pause this. Sorry about that. Some of the other maths teachers came in, and I probably should have just left the camera rolling because we ended up going through the rest of the game. But I'll go through it for your benefit as well, whoever you are. Probably just me. So we just played this pawn forward here to shore up the knight. I'll just find where I was on here again. Okay, yeah. So this white is now threatening he can take this pawn and therefore swap off all of the stuff in the middle and get this bishop on the long diagonal. I know that's going to happen now. So I'm going to preempt it and get a slightly better pawn position by swapping off with me leading the swapping off instead. I take, and he takes back with the queen. So at this point, the queen is now deep into the territory, and these are both the queen and the knight are looking quite powerful. I need to deal with them. I bring this across here, threatening this knight, which isn't really doing anything anymore. It's threatening to swap off with the knight or the queen. Really, it just wants to swap off with this knight because this knight can't be kicked. None of the pawns can get it from its spot. He has to move the queen, and he chooses this, which I'm not sure is the best place. I think there are some other potential places as well, maybe queen down here, or maybe just queen retreating, but this is alright. And now I do the goal of the knight move, which is swapping off the knights. So knight takes knight, he takes back with the pawn. Notice that now that this pawn has moved, this rook is attacking this pawn here, so I have to do something about that. But it's quite a natural move for me here, which is pawn here. So it's guarded by this, it's no longer being attacked by the bishop, it's protecting this pawn, and it's doing it with tempo, because the queen now has to move. So it's a good all-around move. The queen chooses to come forwards, which is quite tricky for me. Notice that if I take the queen, pawn comes here, and he's got a pawn which is a pass pawn, so the pawn doesn't have any of my pawns in front of it. And if there's a pawn here, so if we actually do it, then my bishop can't come here, here is kind of useless. This pawn is guarded by a bishop, he can put both of his rooks behind it, and just spend the whole game forcing this through. It's looking really powerful, so I don't want that. But this bishop is still stuck. What I want to do is get it along here eventually to swap off with here, but as soon as I move this bishop, my queen is attacked. So what I need to do is guard my queen, and I want to get my rook over here to guard it, but this bishop is attacking this space, so I need to get rid of the bishop first, and so I play h6. He has to retreat the bishop. Notice if it comes here, I just guard it and push it even further back. So he comes right the way back down here. Okay, so now I carry on with my plan. Rook d8, guarding the queen, so I can now move the bishop over here. And he plays this. Taking control of this file, as he should. I have no way of contesting this now. I have to spend so much time unwrapping myself. Okay, now I play a bad move. This is the move which makes it so I am losing the game. But it looks fairly natural at first. What I should have done is probably just this, carrying on with the plan. But I thought, if I could get my bishop down here, and eventually over to here, once I've shored up this thing with my king, then he can move all of the rooks that he wants down here. It's not going to get through. I can just contain off his queen and then nab off the pawn. Unfortunately, moving the bishop here removes one of the things that I had it doing earlier, which was guarding against this move. White plays here. Now before, my plan was to push the pawn up to defend, where it would have been guarded by the bishop, but it's no longer guarded by the bishops. This no longer works. This is a really bad move for me, because it's threatening the rook, and the rook can't go to here, because it just gets taken, and here, queen takes queen, and he's going to get the rook. It's just bad overall. So, I need to guard, which is bishop in front. But now the bishop's moved, this pawn is undefended. And so for the first time, white is up in the game. Okay, so white's taking this pawn, and now white is actually winning. And he's deep into this territory. I need to unwrap myself. I need to carry on with this plan of getting this bad bishop off the board, hopefully for this good bishop. So he's played this. Now I can carry on with my plan. But I'm annoyed with myself at this point. You know, I'm thinking, oh dear, I'm going to lose this one now. This one goes here. He swaps off, so he does queen takes queen. I take back with that. So the queen's off the board. It's a lot less dangerous. And he goes the whole hog. He also swaps off these. So this, and I choose to take this way rather than with the other rook. With this, he's controlled this file, and he's going to make use of it. So he comes right the way down here, check, he's deep into my territory, and I basically have to go here. So at this point, I've got, I'm a pawn down, I've got 6 and he's got 7. He does have doubled up pawns, but we've both got the same colour bishops, we've both got rooks, but he's more advanced. Notice I'm threatening the bishop, so he has to move it. And now he plays an inaccuracy. So he plays this. Now we played those last couple of moves in quick succession, and at this point he plays this, and we write down the last 3 moves, but he forgets to click the clock, and I'm under no obligation to point that out to him. So his clock is running down for about 15 minutes before he notices, and it's very obvious to me that I'm going to take the bishop, but I'm just planning about 8 moves in the future. I was just seeing all the different things that could go on, and he ended up in time trouble because of this. But I think this is the move which lets me back in. It's not just bad in terms of the time loss. It was bad because his bishop was doing a lot more than mine, and when I swap off, he doubles up his pawns. So he's a pawn up, but if we just look at his pawn structure, he's got an isolated pawn, he's got isolated doubled up pawns, and he's got another set of doubled up pawns here. Whereas I've got connected pawns, and these ones are looking quite good. Plus, with my next move here, rook here, he can't actually get to defend this one. All of my pawns are working together to defend each other. This rook is guarding the base of the kind of the patterns for them, whereas all of his are ripe for picking. He can't do anything to defend this, so he just needs to ignore it and play some other move. And he goes here, making good use and just firming up this file. I do take, which means I'm threatening this, and he defends. So that's now kind of shored up, but I've got 2 pawns against his 1. Whereas on this side, he's got messy pawns, but he's got more of them. So what I need to do is focus on this side and try and get one of these pawns through to promote. And this is what the rest of the game hinges around. I play an inaccuracy here. So what I should have done, I think, is this, threatening this pawn and doing all sorts of damage. Because, well, if I take this, I'll also be guarding this. What I actually ended up doing was this, planning to move this down here, so it'd be guarding that space. Okay, cool. So I play this, and that didn't end up being very good because he comes across. Oh no, he goes up. Which one did he do? Sorry, I've lost where I am. Yes, he goes here, attacking this pawn. Now I can't just push this pawn up to defend it because this is guarding that space. So I need some other way of defending, and this looks like the best way. So that's rook d7. He starts moving his king up because he can't actually advance this one because then I'll nab this one. So he needs to get his king involved to be able to unpick this. And so the next couple of moves, he does quite a few king moves. I play rook d5. So now I'm planning with this one to go over here, and this has ended up being a bit of a mistake as well. King g3, and now I start advancing. So this is guarding both of these ones over here. It's guarding this one. I'm threatening this, so this one has to react, and it ends up coming down here. But now I have to react because he's threatening this pawn. So my king goes to defend it, king g7. His king further goes into the fray, getting involved. My king is having to defend, whereas his is actually getting involved. And I play rook h5. So now his king is coming over. I'm hoping to lure him back. This rook is still doing everything it was meant to, guarding this, but it's also attacking this one over here. So he's trying to make his king have to defend rather than attack. But he doesn't do anything about that. He instead goes and attacks this one. Rook a7 attacking this pawn. Now I don't want to swap this good pawn for this rubbish pawn, so I advance it. And he plays rook b7, attacking this one. I notice that if he doubles up his rooks, he's going to have a good attack on this, and I won't have a great way of defending it, particularly if I go up here. So I preempt it by playing king here, so that I can move my rook back to defend this. If my king and rook are working together, then both of his rooks won't be able to take it. That is what he does. So I have to come back and defend, rook h7, and he plays rook c5. Now that my rook isn't there to defend this space, he's got both of his rooks attacking this one. Now at this point, I offered a draw, and it was taken. He'd offered to draw about 3 minutes before. Everything that I've got going for me in this position is centered on these pawns. So if these ones swap off, then it's just drawn. Everything about it is drawn. Rook and pawn games usually are, but they tend to be quite complicated. But if I take this one and he ends up taking both of these and I take this as well, then he'll have 4 pawns there, I'll have 4 pawns there, and they're just shunt up against each other. So we offered a draw here. I had 15 minutes left on the clock out of the hour and a half. I had 40 minutes left. He had 15. But 15 is more than enough to play the same game. Looking through it, I was thinking about just swapping off all of these. I think I found a better way. I think this is a continuation, but I think it still draws. So this is my suggestion as best continuation. Rook takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. So I've swapped off 1 for 1. Now I play a waiting move. Rook here. Check. He comes back. It just draws the king further back. So instead of nabbing a pawn, I'm doing this. And nabbing the pawn was where I fell into the trap of thinking in the actual game. Rook takes rook, because both my rooks were attacked, so I had to do something about it. Rook takes rook, and now the crucial move, which I didn't consider in the actual game, is rook back. He can't attack this pawn anymore, because he can't go here, which is the natural space for it, because I'll just take him with my rook. If he goes here, then I have a rook behind it. I've got a pass pawn with a rook behind it, which he has to defend about. If he tries and nabs things like that and gets greedy, then I can just charge it up. He won't be able to stop it. So his only option is going back, like here, and if I start pushing this up, he just goes in front of it, and we get kind of shunted up like that. Everything else here, he's got 5 pawns on this side, I've got 4, but my rook has access to all of these different rows, so it can do side attacks, but actually this is still drawn. There's just no way that either side is going to go through here. And so it's a draw. The rematch is in 2 weeks, and I think if that one doesn't work, then it will be a game of Armageddon chess, which is a blitz play thing, and usually white has 5 minutes and black has 4, and if it's a draw, then black wins. It's just a way of doing a match if you need a win. But yeah, cool. I think that's it for today. Bye bye.